people of New York City will have no homes and no food. Will have nothing except a slick-talking, failed trust fund rapper from Uganda named Zohran Mamdani. And by the time they realize what they've done, it will be impossible to recover the city that they've destroyed. Well, it's election day in New York City, and according to the latest polls in the mayoral race, former Governor Andrew Cuomo is locked in a dead heat with a 33-year-old Muslim socialist from Uganda named Zohran Mamdani. And this is an election that, without hyperbole, will help determine the trajectory of the whole country. It's the single most important mayoral race that has taken place in recent memory, and it's not really close. New York is our largest city. It's our most important economic center. Whatever you think of New York or the politicians who lead it, and I have a low opinion in both counts, still, it's undeniable how important the city is to the country. If New York were to collapse, the entire country would suffer, and this election could very well bring about that outcome. Now, to be clear, New Yorkers don't have a good choice in this election. Andrew Cuomo is an open borders Democrat who has repeated the mantra over and over again that diversity is our strength. And Cuomo's opponent, coincidentally enough, is the manifestation of diversity in New York. Zohran Mamdani is the kind of candidate that just 15 years ago would have been unable to mount a serious candidacy for PTA president, much less mayor. But because New York's demographics have shifted so sharply, largely because of the policies of people like Andrew Cuomo, Mamdani now has the momentum. Roughly 40% of New York City's population wasn't born in this country. I'll say that again. 40% of New York City's population was not born in this country. And that's the constituency that could propel Mamdani to victory. So what does Zohran Mamdani stand for exactly? Who is he? We spent 5 minutes listening to him speak, and you'll quickly find the answers to both those questions. Mamdani has no desire to assimilate. He has no desire to improve this country in any way. Instead, he dreams of turning New York City into Uganda, where half the population makes less than $2 a day. Mamdani has only been a citizen of this country for around 6 years, which means he's not even eligible to run for Senate, but he's determined to remake this country as he sees fit anyway. And like so many foreigners who've come to this country recently, Mamdani wants to implement the same failed policies that destroyed the countries that they fled from. There are too many examples to list, but here's one of them. Here's a doozy. Watch this.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
Yes, Mamdani wants state-run grocery stores, an idea that has never worked anywhere it's been tried. He wants a public option for produce. In other words, he wants to turn your local supermarket into the DMV. Never mind the fact that there isn't a single person alive in the entire country who's ever been to the DMV and thought to themselves, wow, these people are great. They should be put in charge of the food supply. That's what Mamdani is going with. He's apparently upset with dynamic pricing, which is another word for pricing. It means that store owners can decide what they want to charge depending on demand. It's like a basic function of free markets, which have directly resulted in places like New York becoming extremely wealthy and successful cities. But now Mamdani has decided that he knows better than the markets. He knows better than what made New York City a great city to begin with. And he's going to use the dwindling resources of the city to arbitrarily prop up the state-owned stores, which will put a lot of smaller bodegas out of business. And once that happens, just like in the Soviet Union, most New Yorkers will have no choice but to use the state-run store. And then you get bread lines. And then New York City will have finally achieved the utopian state already achieved by countries like Uganda. As best anyone could tell, Mamdani doesn't actually think any of this will work. He's actually not a particularly political person, certainly not a thinker, not a serious person. Instead, like so many prominent politicians we've seen over the years, he's an actor. Mamdani is adept at using different personas to appeal to different demographics, a skill he put to use during his short-lived rap career, and which still gets him into trouble sometimes. Watch this.
Because I think that New Yorkers, more than they hate a politician they disagree with, they hate a politician they can't trust.
On the subject of trust, you've adopted different speaking accents in different scenarios.
But they go to their local bodega.
Is there one that's real and one that's affected?
What I would say is, as any immigrant knows, having been born in Kampala, Uganda, and then raised in South Africa and moving here when I'm 7 years old, is there are different parts of my life. A worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour.
Hey. Mamdani was talking about a worldwide press tour back when he was a rapper.
Bring the flavor to the fish, bring the flavor to the rice.
In a Disney movie directed by his mother.
Nepotism and hard work goes a long way. Here in New York City, this is how I speak, this is how I am.
Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
Now, watching that, you can see just how an actor like Zelensky became the president of Ukraine. Except this situation is actually a lot worse because at least Zelensky was born in Ukraine. Mamdani is just parachuting into New York from a foreign country, trying to find a way to use his connections and wealth to appeal to as many rubes as possible. And after trying rap, he's settled on politics. And very quickly, he realized that promising free stuff is a good way to get votes, especially when half the city is imported from the third world. And especially when the voters in your city basically have a death wish, which many of these voters in these major cities do, which is why they keep electing people who are promising to destroy the communities where they live. And this guy, he doesn't just want price controls on groceries. Like any good socialist, he wants price controls on everything. A few weeks ago, for example, he shilled for rent control. Watch.
I'm Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, and I'm running for mayor to freeze the rent for every rent-stabilized tenant.
Wait, you're gonna freeze my rent?
Yes.
Did I hear rent freeze?
Yes! This guy's gonna freeze the rent. No hike?
None.
This guy's gonna freeze the rent.
It's true. As your next mayor, I will freeze your rent.
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
Yeah, just prevent landlords from charging more, and prevent grocery stores from charging more too while you're at it. So if the prices are too high, just say to the people that are charging the prices, don't make them so high, and then problem solved. Why didn't we think of that? What could possibly go wrong? You can't possibly run out of food or apartments, right? It's not like suppliers are ever going to stop shipping you food at whatever arbitrary price you want to charge. It's not like landlords are ever going to stop renting their apartments for zero profit. Because by the way, being a landlord is a very low margin business. Okay. These are generally not people that are reaping insane profits. It is low margin, high liability. And so if you don't let people turn even the small profits they're turning, you're not going to have places to live anymore. Well, unless you can just tell people that they have to charge less. And then it's like magic. Problem solved. Now, what's funny about this line of reasoning, such as it is that Mamdani's platform still depends on massive tax revenues. I mean, even as he destroys New York's economy, like every other socialist who's ever lived, he wants to spend money like it's water. This is from the New York Post, quote, mayoral hopeful Zohran Mamdani wants to spend $65 million in taxpayer funds on transgender treatment, including for minors, if he's elected to lead New York City. About $57 million would be allotted for public hospitals, community clinics, federally qualified health centers, and nonprofits, with another $8 million for more expanded services. Mamdani, 33, also vowed to go after private medical institutions that continue to deny trans youth care, stating he would work with State Attorney General Letitia James and local district attorneys in the 5 boroughs to investigate and hold public hearings on hospitals that deny trans youth their rightful health care and hold them accountable to the law. And the result of all this, although it doesn't really need to be said, is that taxpayers in New York are going to flee to places like Florida. It's already happening in large numbers, and it's going to accelerate immeasurably if this guy wins. In New York City right now, 0.8% of residents, less than 1%, pay more than 40% of all income taxes that are collected. Yes, the 1% that socialists demonize are the only way that socialists can afford to do anything. Without this 1%, there's no one to subsidize these government-run grocery stores or the trans surgeries or the free rent. The people of New York City will have no homes and no food. We'll have nothing except a slick-talking, failed trust fund rapper from Uganda named Zohran Mamdani. And by the time they realize what they've done, it will be impossible to recover the city that they've destroyed. And that is why the socialist Muslim foreigner Zohran Mamdani and everyone supporting his communist bid for mayor are today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.